Welcome to Food Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of TimeSplitters 2. I play it on the Xbox Series X via backwards compatibility. It's also available on the Xbox Series S and Xbox One via backwards compatibility, and if you have a classic Xbox, GameCube, or PS2, I guess you can rock it there. So let's jump into the story. You play as Cortez, and you are from basically the future, and you are bouncing back through time to stop aliens who have taken time crystals into different time periods. And that is one of the fun things, is like the different time periods, like Notre Dame in like ye olde times, or you know, the Wild West, or even into the future even. We're talking like flying saucers and other aliens that aren't the aliens that you're actually chasing. Let's get into the audio, and the first thing I'm going to say is the music is really good in this game, and since you are bouncing to these different time periods, the music always fits the level. When you're in the Old West, you get Old West music. When you're in the future, you get future sci-fi music, so that's always really cool. As for the voiceover work, it is suitably cheesy, because this is a kind of cartoony and cheesy game, so the voiceover work being cheesy works. And then you've got the sound effects. The sound effects are really well done in this game. You've got different sound effects for all the different weapons you do, for the different enemies, fitting the different time periods. I just think that is a very well done element of this game. Now let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is a classic first-person shooter. Everything is mission to mission. It's not some great interconnected map. You pick your mission, you go into it, you complete the mission, go on to the next mission, which will be in a completely different time period. And I do like the going into the different time periods because they give you different weapons which completely change your play style. But it's not just the weapons, it's the enemies you run into that are also wildly different. Some of them will actually be using guns, some of them are just zombies. It's really interesting and it mixes everything up for you. But that being said, at its core, it is really simple, but it works. There is also a multiplayer element, there's co-op as well as competitive, and there are definitely game modes where you can play against bots, and that's always a lot of fun. It remains fun even now, and going through the challenges, well, we'll get into that in a minute. Once upon a time, it was a lot of fun and could still be fun, but there is one massive thing holding this entire experience back, and I'm gonna get into that in the controls. But for me, this is one of my favorite, like, classic couch co-op, couch competitive games. I sank an insane number of hours into this with my friends back in the day. But we're gonna get into the controls now, and this is where the game falls apart. As for the movement and responsivity of the controls, excellent. It's the aiming that is terrible in this game. The aiming just doesn't work as well as it used to. Basically, you have minimal movement and maximum movement. There is nothing in between when it's aiming. Like, really, it is that. You can move a little bit or you can move a shit ton, and that's all there is to it. So if you're trying to do any precision aiming, it really just doesn't work well. I don't know how I dealt with this once upon a time. Maybe it's something from how the controllers worked back then versus how they work now. But there was a mission where I was trying to use like a sniper rifle and actually do some sniping, and man, it is so jerky and just horrible and really difficult. Anytime I was trying to like take out security cameras to be sneaky, the precision aiming was just making it a nightmare and incredibly infuriating. When you're going up against enemies, it's not so bad. It actually works pretty well and is fun. But anytime you need to do precise aiming, like there was a mission where I had to try and save people, but doing the precision aiming to not accidentally kill those people was very difficult. So unfortunately, I really felt like the controls hold this game back in modern times. Now let's get into the graphics and visuals, and man, it still actually looks pretty decent. The level of detail that you would see in a modern game is obviously not there, but the cartoony aesthetic holds up pretty damn well. But going beyond that, the number of character designs, the number of weapon designs, the world designs, all of that, the amount of them in this game is actually really impressive. There's so many characters in each level, and then there's extra ones for the multiplayer and challenges and arcade mode. But then you have all the different guns for all the different times you go into. You have just so many different designs in this game. It's actually really impressive that they did this 20 years ago. And like I said, that cartoony visual style holds up really well. Admittedly, like I said, the amount of detail that could be in there is not, and it's not as clean as it could be. This isn't an HD re-release or anything. But I gotta say, jumping into it, I wasn't like, oh my god, this is the worst thing I'm seeing. I have definitely seen games that have not held up as well visually. So to wrap this up, I honestly think this is one of those games that is a positive argument towards doing remasters. Does this game need to be remade from the ground up? No. Honestly, if they were to re-release this game with modern FPS controls, I would give this like a nearly flawless score. I would fully recommend it, if that were the case. As it stands, it's really kind of hard to say because there are levels that work very well, but then there are levels where you need to do precision stuff and the controls really hold that back. You can and will eventually get through those levels, but it feels like smashing your face into the wall. It's not like it's crazy expensive, but right now it's really only for the diehards who remember playing it back when, kind of like myself. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, did you play TimeSplitters 2 back in the day? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one. Enemies you'll run into in each different time period. Some will have what? But going beyond that, the number of art